Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and yes, I'm back on the good mic so you can actually hear me. And this is one of the documents that I came up with today. It came out on March 20th, which is when I'm recording this on March 20th. This is from Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows. This is a letter to William Barr, which is our Attorney General, of course, Bill Barr. And this is what they had to say. Dear Attorney General, we write to request an update on the Justice Department's investigation and prosecution of former Federal Bureau of Investigation Deputy Director Andrew McCabe. The Justice Department Office of Inspector General, DOJ, OIG, referred McCabe's lack of candor to the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia almost a year ago. And if you look at this has a footnote, number 1, down here. The second footnote is one that's really kind of long and I want to point out to you, but the first one is from the Justice Department watchdog sends McCabe findings to federal prosecutors for possible charges, and that was an article on CNN that confirmed that. Kind of interesting. CNN did get something right. McCabe's pattern of lies to FBI and OIG officials was particularly troublesome because they were intended to cover up media leaks that would benefit McCabe personally and professionally, especially in context of other outrageous conduct by senior FBI officials, including former Director James Comey, former FBI General Counsel James Baker, former FBI Deputy Assistant Director Peter Strzok, and former FBI Assistant General Counsel Lisa Page. Public transparency about the McCabe referral is vital to restoring the FBI's integrity. McCabe became acting director of the FBI on May 9, 2017, upon the president's termination of Comey. In this role, McCabe was part of a small group of senior Justice Department and FBI leadership determining what actions to take against the president for terminating Comey. That's where this second footnote comes in. Look at what it says. This is from the transcribed interview of James Baker. And here is what it said. Mr. Baker, I believe there were a couple of different meetings, and I believe there were a couple of different meetings, and each time I think it was the day after because I believe the meetings went late into the evening. That's to the best of my recollection. And then Mr. Jordan said, okay, and is it your understanding that there were multiple meetings that Mr. McCabe, Miss Page, Mr. Rosenstein had about the potential of recording the president? Mr. Baker said, I don't know. I know that they had multiple meetings with the Deputy Attorney General discussing a lot of things in the immediate aftermath of the firing, and I don't specifically remember how many times this was discussed. Mr. Jordan, so just to be clear, the firing of Mr. Comey took place on May 9th, and then the hiring of the special counsel took place on May 17th. So these numerous meetings and the one you had with Mr. McCabe and Miss Page took place between the 9th and the 17th? Mr. Baker, I believe that's correct. And then it goes on. Mr. Baker says, and then there are some number of conversations with the Deputy Attorney General about what to do next, what needs to be done, and my recollection is numerous topics were discussed, and these were among them. The wearing the wire and the 25th Amendment were one or two of a list of things that people were going through to try to figure out what to do. Isn't this something? And I haven't seen the Baker testimony, so it was interesting to me to see that conversation went on. And the whole idea that they were discussing what actions to take against the president for terminating Comey. President Trump had every right to terminate Comey. Okay? And if you recall, at the time, in fact, people on both sides were asking for Comey to be fired. The Democrats were mad at him because of the things he said. They believed that caused Hillary to lose the election, which that wasn't the reason, but maybe it was part of it. Who knows? And so they were upset about that. The Republicans were upset about him, because they just weren't doing their job against Hillary. Comey stood there at that press conference and Comey listed all the reasons she should be prosecuted. And then he turned around and said, but no prosecutor would really do that. It's like, oh. It was so frustrating. When he was going through that, by the way, when Comey was saying all that about Clinton, I thought, oh my gosh, he really is going to recommend that she's prosecuted. And then he ends up saying that. It was like, really? You just laid out all of her crimes. And then you're going to turn around and say, oh, but she shouldn't be prosecuted. Yeah, I knew something was up when I heard that. According to McCabe, one of his first acts as acting director was to open an obstruction of justice investigation into the president for firing Comey. And that's down here. The removal of FBI Director James Comey, presidential authority, and the Senate's role in the appointment of the FBI director. And here was a quote, as a constitutional and legal matter, it is widely recognized that the president generally enjoys broad authority to remove the heads of executive branch agencies, including the FBI director. Although not explicitly stated in the text of the Constitution, the principle that the power to remove is incidental to the power to appoint informed the Supreme Court's 1926 opinion in Myers v. United States. So in other words, if the president can appoint people, then it logically follows that he can then unappoint them or fire them. So anyway, that one I wanted to point out to you too, because that's very pertinent to what's going on in this. Okay, so anyway, we go back to this and we have McCabe's purported justification for the obstruction investigation was his belief the president's removal of Comey was an attempt to obstruct the FBI's investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 election. Now, if you notice, this all had to do with his belief, okay? They had no real evidence. And if you are somebody who listens to Dan Bongino, you know he always says the first paragraph. And the first paragraph was the thing that says this is why this investigation was opened. There was nothing to open any investigation, even this one, the obstruction of justice, nothing to open it except McCabe's belief. So that's what they were basing it on. What they felt must surely be true. At the time of Comey's firing, the FBI had been investigating alleged Russian election interference for nearly a year. Former FBI lawyer Lisa Page and Director Comey both testified before the House Committees on Judiciary and Oversight and Government Reform that the FBI was unsure of the inquiry's direction, even after a year of investigating. Notably, Comey testified, we opened the Russian counterintelligence investigation in late July 2016, but we didn't know whether we had anything. In fact, when I was fired as director, I still didn't know whether there was anything to it. In light of this information, McCabe's justification for opening an obstruction investigation appears to be pretextual for his true motive, retaliation for Comey's termination. And we know that's what they were really doing. They were ticked off because Trump fired Comey. That was the whole thing, and Comey was their buddy. McCabe's actions here are consistent with his other questionable conduct during his FBI tenure. As the DOJ-OIG reported, McCabe disclosed confidential investigative details to a media outlet to advance his personal interests at the expense of department leadership. Now, I wanted to point this out because this is from the DOJ-OIG report. There was a report that came out before the one in June of last year, the big one everyone was waiting for. And it was one that was on McCabe, and it basically spelled out that they recommended that he be prosecuted for criminal charges because of some of the things that he did, and it specifically listed the charges that he should be tried against. And it also said there needed to be an investigation into Loretta Lynch, Peter Strzok, and a couple others, and I can't remember who right off. But yeah, there were about 5 of them listed in that the Inspector General recommended be held up for criminal charges. So yes, there were some there, but it seemed like that's not what the media wanted to focus on. So it kind of got brushed aside and people didn't pay much attention to it. So anyway, specifically to rebut what he believed to be an incredibly damaging narrative about himself, McCabe directed Page and another FBI employee to reveal information related to the FBI's ongoing investigation of the Clinton Foundation investigation. By authorizing the leak, McCabe confirmed the existence of an active FBI investigation in violation of departmental policies. When confronted by department personnel about whether he was the source of the leak, McCabe concealed his misconduct by lying to Director Comey and by lying under oath to both the FBI's Inspection Division personnel and the DOJ OIG. McCabe's dishonesty ultimately resulted in his termination from the FBI at the recommendation of career staff of the Office of Professional Responsibility, as well as criminal referral for misleading federal investigators about his media leak. And I told you, criminal referral. Yes, that was in that IG report. But again, it's like the press just totally skipped over all that's what that said. As you begin the difficult process of restoring trust in the FBI, we believe accountability begins with transparency. We request you provide the committee with the status of McCabe's criminal referral to the United States Attorney for the District of Columbia. Thank you for your attention to this important matter. And so there it is. And those are the two guys who signed it, Jim Jordan and Mark Meadows. Jim Jordan is the ranking member, and for those who might not know, the ranking member is the minority member of that committee, and he's the ranking member of the House Judiciary, and then Mark Meadows is the ranking member of the Subcommittee on Government Operations. So you can see the people they sent it to. They not only sent it to the ranking member of the Committee on the Judiciary, which is Doug Collins. He's the one that's been releasing a lot of these transcripts. And Jerry Nadler, who is now the chairman of that committee, the Judiciary, and then Elijah Cummings is the Democrat who is the chairman of the Committee on Oversight and Reform. They also sent a copy to Michael Horowitz, who is the Inspector General for the Department of Justice. Now remember, there are Inspectors General for each of these different departments, so Horowitz is just the one for the Department of Justice. The man has his work cut out for him, that's for sure. Lots to do there. And so then the other one was the United States Attorney that is for the District of Columbia. So that's who they sent it to. That was their letter. Will they get a report on this? I don't know, but I think they raise a very good point because it's about time. I mean, that was a year ago when that came out. I think it was in February of 2018. So it's been over a year. Why don't they have something about it yet? Well, I'm going to do a few short videos here, and the answer to that particular question I think is going to be answered in the next video I do, which is going to be on a Twitter thread that Brian Cates did. So I'll wait and I'll do that one there. Like I said, I'm going to split them up because it just makes it easier. They upload faster, and I'm still in a situation I don't have my new modem yet, and so I'm kind of offline at home, and I have to go to the park to do everything and get all my research, and then I come home and I record it so I have the decent microphone to do that with, and then when I get it all done and I edit it and everything, so then I take the video that's made up and I take it back to the park and I upload it. So it's been fun. It's been exciting. Yeah. I should be getting it. This is Wednesday. I should probably be getting the new one tomorrow on Thursday or maybe Friday. Maybe it'll make my upload speed faster. Who knows? It really was a very old modem. So that's where I'm at this point. And I also wanted to mention about the praying medic thing. I'm really sorry that I put out the first one that I did because I didn't have time to research it. I watched the video. The video appeared to me to be genuine from praying medic, and so I thought, okay, he's just switched accounts. Well, you know, it's a big mess, and there are people saying all kinds of stuff about praying medic on Twitter. I don't know what the situation is. I don't know the man myself. I don't have any way to contact him, so I just don't know what the situation is. And I haven't really been following him that closely lately because it's just been so busy trying to get my own videos done. So I don't know this situation. I'm just going to tell you right now, be careful who you follow, whoever it is. And I think he's a genuine guy. I just don't know that much about what he's doing right now. And I'm not sure why he would do that, but he did. And so I don't know. I'm just stepping back and letting things play out a little bit. And we'll find out the truth eventually. It'll come out. So whatever the case is, just wait and see, I guess, at this point. And so if you've had contact with him, that's great. I'm just going to kind of have a wait and see attitude on it. So that's what I've got for you. I want to thank you for stopping by and check out the next video I'm going to do, because that one I think is kind of hand in hand with this one, and it will refer back to this one, but it gives a few more answers that you might not be aware of. So thanks for stopping by, and I will see you all later.